Italy has ordered the EU to put the boot in and refused to give a millimetre to the UK during Brexit negotiations. As a post-Brexit trade deal remains on a knife edge, Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte said EU bosses Michel Barnier and Ursula von der Leyen should hold their nerve when up against Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He warned the EU was prepared to walk away from negotiations without a deal rather than give in to EU pressure. Mr. Conte said, "A deal remains in the interests of all, but not at any cost. On this, the EU must not give a millimetre." In a warning shot to Mr. Johnson, he said nobody must think they can take advantage of the single market and then not respect all the consequences that come with that. That would constitute unfair competition that we will never submit to. His warning came ahead of Mr. Johnson's crisis meeting over dinner in Brussels with the EU's chief executive Mrs. von der Leyen on Wednesday, hours after warning the bloc it must make concessions to clinch a Brexit trade deal and avoid a turbulent year-end breakup. But Downing Street revealed large gaps remain between the UK and EU in reaching a Brexit deal after 3-hour last-ditch talks. The Prime Minister and European Commission President agreed a firm decision about the future of the negotiations should be made by Sunday. It was hoped progress at a political level between Mr. Johnson and Mrs. von der Leyen could pave the way for more talks between the chief negotiators Lord Frost and Michel Barnier. But the statements from both sides suggested while further discussions would be held, substantial movement on the key issues had not been made during a frank discussion over dinner in Brussels. Negotiations have faltered on the issues of fishing rights, the level playing field measures aimed at preventing the UK undercutting the EU on standards and state subsidies, and the way that any deal would be governed. A senior source in the Prime Minister's office said in a statement, "Very large gaps remain between the two sides and it is still unclear whether these can be bridged," adding that Mr. Johnson did not want to leave any route to a possible deal untested. The two sides agreed that a decision on whether a deal is possible before Britain finally leaves the EU's orbit and January 1 would be taken by the end of the weekend. In a statement, a Number 10 spokesman said, "The PM and VDL had a frank discussion about the significant obstacles which remain in the negotiations. Very large gaps remain between the two sides and it is still unclear whether these can be bridged." The PM and VDL agreed to further discussions over the next few days between their negotiating teams. The PM does not want to leave any route to a possible deal untested. The PM and VDL agreed that by Sunday a firm decision should be taken about the future of the talks.